All right, we are live.
Hey,
How's it going?
let's give everyone a minute. I'm posting on the gram with the link.
All right, if you're catching this on the replay, what we are going to talk about today is we're going to go over more in depth what Sam and Comic Tom talked about in their Comic Book 101 session. And we're going to go a little bit more in depth. And because they were going for just a short amount of time to give you the quick and dirty on these topics, we're going to go more into it, let you guys really delve into these topics, okay?
Sweet.
All right, what did you want to hit first? You want to hit, they went over grading, how to quickly grade, so-called dirty grading, hashtag ready flex for that term. And we're going to go over some reprints. Not facsimiles today. I'm just going to go over the reprints. I think everybody's well-versed on what facsimiles roughly are. We may go over that later, but today we're just going to hit reprints because it's a pretty deep topic.
Yeah. Do we have the facsimile to talk about?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. Basically, do you want to talk? Like, you should at least brush on the facsimile because someone on here might not even know what that is.
Okay, so
hey everyone.
Let's look at this book here. And let's say they were going to make a facsimile of this book. So this is Amazing Spider-Man, Brand New Day. This is the start of a new storyline. This is 546, kind of a key issue. And if they were to do a facsimile on this, it would look pretty much exactly the same with very, very minor differences sometimes. And that's going to be usually like this logo might be a little bit different, or something down here in the UPC might be a little bit different, but everything else is going to be exactly the same.
All right, awesome. What do you want to start
with? Let's talk about homages. Let's get homages out of the way, because that is not a reprint. And I want to give you guys an example of one of my favorite homages.
How do we get the chat in here?
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, hey, everyone that's hopping on, but I can't see nobody.
No more week after reprint, says Andy's.
Hi, Andy's.
All right. So this is an homage. This is the original right here. This is Hulk 105. This is one of my favorite Hulk books. And this is Immortal Hulk #1. And as you can see, it's pretty much the same, but just a different artist rendition of the original artwork right here. So this is going to be an homage. It is not a reprint. It's a completely different storyline. It's a completely different series. You'll see homages all over the place, and they are not reprints. So I'm going to put that aside for now.
Yes. And make sure you put any questions you have in the chat. Like, we're not just exclusively talking about these things. If anyone has any questions, pop it in the chat.
Sure. So Marvel has a deep history of reprints. And it goes on for a couple of reasons. And I'm going to pull out my piece de resistance. This is Marvel Spotlight #5, the first appearance of the Ghost Rider. All right. Now, why am I pulling that out when I'm talking about reprints? Well, I'm going to show you this. This is my best copy of Ghost Rider #10 with the Hulk on the cover right here. Okay. Let me open this up and I'll show you guys what the first page says.
They are homaging Spawn 1 and TMNT 1.
Yeah. Sure. So if you go to this first page here, and you read this box right here near the spine, it says, "Bet you're all wondering what this story has to do with the Hulk on the cover, huh? Well, the dreaded Deadline Doom has, you guessed it, struck again. But we figured this would be as good a place as any to fill in the unenlightened among you as to the origin of Johnny Blaze." So basically what happened is they have a deadline and they missed it. So they just took an old comic and just shoved it into this cover and was like, here you guys go. Sorry, we missed our deadline. You're not going to get a Hulk versus Ghost Rider comic. And that happened sporadically from pretty much the beginning of Marvel all the way to when Jim Shooter became editor-in-chief. So in 1978, he pretty much fixed that by hiring a bunch of editors. Shout out to CBR.com for all that information. So yeah, he fixed basically that issue where they were having missing deadlines and things like that. We're not going to get super deep into it because Sam and I totally disagree on this, and many people in the comic community disagree about this. But there was also reprints, or what'd you call it?
Like stories retold.
Stories retold for X-Men 67 through 93, where they were just kind of retelling the stories of the earlier issues. And that Sam told me, I don't really know that much about X-Men. She said that, I'm sorry, you can say it better than I can. What was it? Why were they printing those?
Oh, because they lost creativity and the story was crap. So Chris Claremont saved it in Giant Size X-Men.
So basically, X-Men was going defunct, and they were just like, all right, well, let's pump some older comics in there and see how it goes.
Yeah, but they did it for an excessive amount of time. All right, what's next?
All right. So you'll come across those kind of reprints a lot where the story on the inside is the same. It's the same art pretty much. And the cover is different. And you'll see that sporadically with like Avengers, Ghost Rider, and you know, pretty much every Marvel title of the mid 70s and late 60s. But that's not really what the issue is either, right? The issue is when you buy this comic, or you think you're buying this comic, and you accidentally bought this one. Mm-hmm. They look almost identical. Obviously, the top is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know, you can easily grab the Marvel's Greatest Comics reprint instead of the original. And what will happen is that LCSs, they'll just throw that reprint in the ASM run, just right where the regular one would go, not like in a separate section or anything like that. So you could be rifling through mm-hmm. and see the regular cover of 545 and get to the next one and be like, ooh, I know that's something. Let me pull that out and pay top dollar for it on accident.
However, isn't that reprint more valuable than the OG?
I don't know. I didn't look up the original. I didn't.
Okay.
Look
That looked like there was a couple Spidey books where the reprint is like more rare and more expensive than the original. I don't know. It's just a random question.
Know. But I'm just showing off there.
Yeah, show them the difference.
Let's see. Overall,
Brand New Day is on the top on one and on the bottom on the other, and then the numbering's different.
Yep. So you'll see the top is different, the numbering is different, the mole symbol is different, and the bottoms are different. There's no UPC on the reprint. The Brand New Day is all the way at the bottom, and as are the names of the comics. Is that okay with you?
What?
Marvel doing that?
With
having it that similar, is that okay with you?
I think it's nice because, like, I know we have Flex little whatever New Mutants 90, right? The OG copy, mm-hmm. but the original looks so close. The only difference is the barcode is hugging the spine and then the price, and that's the same with like the first appearance of Miles Morales. Is there's like red around the Marvel mm-hmm. is different, and then the code is all the way hugging the spine.
I never knew the code thing until I saw you guys talking about it. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, and I think the issue is like there's a lot of new collectors mm-hmm. who are getting taken advantage of on like online marketplaces and True. Sometimes even in shops. So I'd say it's not a Marvel issue. It's a dishonest people issue. I mean, honestly, when someone's like first appearance of Miles Morales and I see it and it's the reprint, but someone that's brand new is like, oh my gosh, I'm about to get the first appearance of Miles for $100.
I think the reason I think it's a Marvel issue, and yes, it is a dishonest, like people should just be honest and say what it is. But Marvel could just go back to the true believers. They had this one. I don't have a copy of it now. Or like here, let's use this Marvel Milestone, for example. So this is a reprint of Tales of Suspense number 39, first Iron Man. No matter what you do, you look at this, you know it's not the first print Iron Man. Mm-hmm. This is a reprint. And they moved away from this. They moved towards...
the new style of reprint looks exactly like the real.
True Believers is mm-hmm. at the top of a big banner that said True Believers, and you would not get a True Believers. Most people wouldn't really get True Believers confused with mm-hmm. The actual first issue.
I think we need to take away someone in the chat and block them from the thing. That is inappropriate.
All right. Block users. Ron Burgundy.
Blocked. That was weird.
So,
all right. Anyways.
Michael Katz, what does he say? Some of these latest reprints in the last year look too good. And yes, I agree. I totally agree with you. Jocelyn, we'll hit your up at the very end.
In a good and a bad way. I would say in a bad way because like Werewolf by Night 32, like the first Moon Knight, the reprint of that looks the exact same. Obviously, the price is different. But did you see the sales on those on eBay?
Mm-hmm.
Hundreds. You could probably walk into most shops and get that off the rack at cover price.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a dishonest people issue.
I really don't have a problem with someone buying a reprint that like even just came out and buying it for $100 if they knew that that's what they were buying and they were buying it because they wanted it because it's a free market, they can do whatever they want.
Right, but the verbiage.
But dishonest. They're not. Most of the time, you look at that when you can buy it for $4 somewhere else, and they're buying it for $150, thinking they got a steal. That is them not.
Yeah, that's taking advantage of new collectors.
They called them facsimiles, says Adam C., and many of them looked identical to the OG book. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's so sad to see.
Yeah.
Like, so sad. Because, like, when I was in Seattle, there was a shop, like the first shop I went to, pretty much all the shops had them, the first appearance of Moon Knight, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, like, get your $400 copy of where, like, no joke, on eBay, that book was selling for $400. I'm like, we're not even, like, anywhere near that thing. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's like dirty. It's like it makes the book like so dirty, and then you look on eBay and it's like the way it's worded is like it's the original.
What's up, something wrong?
You know what I mean? Hey.
Oh, anyways, here's the question: how do you combat that issue? Right?
I think we combat the issue. It's the same thing with like the newsstand and the direct thing, where like newsstands are more popular in one year than the direct and vice versa. And like someone had asked me that the other day, like how do we like combat the issue of like helping people be aware that actually direct and back in the day was the one that was more rare. And I think it's just like stuff like this, like people like freely educating each other, like posting about it, like talking about on YouTube. I think like that's all things that are going to be helpful to educate the community, because I know that like I research a lot. You research a lot too. But one thing I didn't even think to research when I first got into comics when I was buying you gifts was, everything I bought like in a store or collected, nothing reprinted. Things aren't remade. You know what I mean? Like buying makeup or clothes or like just random girl stuff or even like a lot of gifts. You don't hear about reprint and facsimile. That's not a term that I would have ever thought of. But if it was out there, like for me to like see, then I would have been like, oh, whoa, this is a thing, instead of like buying the reprint of Guardians of the Galaxy for top dollar, So I think people like making the issues more aware, like sharing about it, talking about it, Yeah.
So what I'm going to show you guys now, a lot of people that are watching this probably know all this information. And this is not necessarily for you guys. This is definitely for the brand new people. So I'm going to show you the inside of these two Marvel milestones. Okay. The first Iron Man and the first Fantastic Four. And this is true for pretty much every comic book that I'll show you. Okay. There's a section in the comic book.
He was just talking about the ads. Open up
the cover, and down here in this small print right here, it says Marvel Milestone Edition, Fantastic Four, Volume 1, Number 1, November 1991. Even if this was, let's say, a facsimile of Fantastic Four, I know Fantastic Four did not come out in 1991. There's actually two of these, too. There's a Fantastic Four that came out in 1991. It looks exactly like this. And, well, it is this. And then there's one that came out in 1993. They printed these as well. And you would not be able to tell the difference unless you open up the inside cover and look. Because this one here is actually from March of 1993, and it'll tell you, shit.
Reckon my milestone.
Right down there. These are worth $6, so just if anybody cared, and they're already messed up.
Michael Katz had another
what did Michael
cool
Katz say?
Fact to throw up. The first direct edition was in 1978 from DC, and then Marvel in 1979.
Nice.
Yeah. I didn't know DC was the first direct. That's
now
cool. That is really cool.
I know we're talking to the newbies, right? But this also goes to the well-informed as well, because it almost got Sam and I multiple times. And what I mean is, Sam was a Silver Surfer lover back in the day for the TV shows, not the comics, right? And I don't care about Silver Surfer at all. So when I went to go look for Silver Surfer to get her the comic books, I ran across this series.
Now, where in time were you? Like, was this a busy dad moment? Were you at work? Were you just lounging on the couch on the scrolls of eBay?
This was at an LCS. I was scrolling through an LCS box, and I went to the Silver Surfer area, and I'm like, oh, I know this cover. This cover is really iconic.
Yeah, I can feel that.
Let me get the Silver Surfer. I didn't know it wasn't, like they have Tales of Suspense and Tales to Astonish. I just thought Fantasy Masterpieces was going to be that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Needless to say, this is the original. Like, let me look at the difference.
It does look very similar. If you're quick on the scroll, like online, or if you're quick on the hunt at a shop, it is very easy to grab those reprints. I'm not going to lie. Knowledge is power when buying comics. I wish I had all of Tom's buttons.
All right, Jocelyn. Jocelyn says she is an adult who is autistic but very high functioning. Her instincts are to visually grab the first one she sees, so she may buy the facsimile by mistake because of her disability. Yeah, I didn't actually know that was a problem for some people.
But it goes back to like what you're saying earlier, is if they section, like maybe shops could even consider like sectioning facsimiles and reprints off into another area of the shop.
I do know a lot. I walked into many shops, and the like Werewolf by Night 32 reprints, where it has like $3.99 as the cover price, are often off to a different subsection of the place. But these other ones are usually not. Like Fantasy Masterpieces will be in usually the Silver Surfer section or the F section.
Yeah.
And if you ran across this, you could easily grab it.
Our LCS does a good job of putting those facsimiles on the wall, sectioned off completely from the rest of the books. And they're all together, and they're not like in the runs or anything like that. He does a really good job of that. Thanks for sharing that, Jocelyn, too.
Yeah.
By the way.
Let's get into, that's pretty much all I have for reprints. Does anyone, before I move on, have any questions or any comments? Maybe I missed something, or there's other things you guys wanted to talk about when it comes.
At any point, guys, throw in the questions. We're here hanging out, talking comics, Comic Book 101. Every time I say Comic Book 101 Study Hall, I want to say Comic Town 101 Study Hall.
Yeah, right.
It's funny.
Oh, this is still, I'm going to show this again. These aren't reprints, right? This is the homage cover, which, how do you feel about homage covers? I
think homages are really cool. I think homages really bring a lot of, because that's an homage. And like Immortal Hulk, people really love the Immortal Hulk, that they would want to know like either the history or the work or where that book came from once they find it's an homage. So it really does give respect to the original book, the original artist, and it keeps the OG copy alive. And I think that's super important.
I would tend to agree with that. I totally agree with that. I love homages. I don't like facsimiles. I think facsimiles should be gone. I'm totally fine, as Emma was saying, to do reprints of the same comics on the inside, right? But they need to change cover in some significant way. so that people are not buying it thinking it's something else.
Now, I would have to disagree only because, like, for me, collecting for him, like for gifts, I'm like, okay, because I think to myself, all right, I want to get this for Tony one day. I can afford the facsimile reprint now, or like a super beat copy. So I'll buy like facsimiles or reprints or super beat copies of books that I want to get for Tony as gifts down the line once the funds are there. So I think that aspect is cool when you can have the book and replace it one day. That goal, you know, kind of like a goal board thing, vision board. There we go.
Yeah. I suppose. I just don't like that it's a known issue in the community and the big company hasn't done something significant to combat it.
Yeah.
That's
All
just
right.
me.
What did Adam say?
He's Adam? Sorry. Oh. So he said he can relate why companies like Marvel would release reprints. People would want to read these coveted issues that are usually out of typical collector's price range.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. I just think there should be
I totally agree.
An easy idea. I love the True Believers aspect because it's the exact same cover.
A better identifier is what you're saying. Yeah.
100%.
All right, Nicholas, bring the heat. Take a look at Avengers number 57, the reprint.
Now, is that like Avengers 57, just the regular issue?
He's saying the reprint.
And it's a reprint, or I'm looking it up on my phone now. Avengers 57. Oh, I already had it in there. That's funny. Oh, the Vision.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be able to see it, but
it looks the same. Let's see, first series. Oh no, that was I was gonna say, geez, that looks exactly like the first one.
Yeah, I'm not. Oh, right here. Facsimile edition came out in 2020. Let's see.
Ooh, the price is the same on the corner, on the side,
on the top, right?
The only difference is the barcode.
Let me see if I can lower my.
There you go.
Yes. Oh, there you go. I lowered it. So the difference of the
that's a really good example
of the facsimile and the original is this bottom bar right here doesn't exist on the original. The UPC is not there, and the price says $3.99 here. But up here, which is different from a lot of the original facsimiles, is it still says 12 cents right there. Yeah, 12 cents right there.
Yeah.
Where before they would switch that out and say $3.99. That's really interesting.
That's very interesting.
When you're going through boxes, you're not, most of the time you don't pull the comic all the way out and look at the bottom. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You guys have seen me hunt fast videos. And I'm like, all right.
All right,
move on to the dirty grading.
Let's move on to the grading.
All right, so shout out to Reggie Collects. I love his term, dirty grading, because grading is one of those topics that is just like so heavy. It can be very overwhelming at first, but it can be broken down in bite-sized pieces, which Reggie worded fully with the dirty grading thing. So this is my Overstreet grading guide. This is not like a promo or a commercial or anything like that. They don't pay me to say this. But I love this thing. This is an Overstreet grading guide. It goes over super in depth of all the grades between a 10.0, right, had goals, to a 0.5. And it has like the verbiage, the details. It shows you what it can and cannot have. And it has pictures. Like a lot of pictures.
Examples, like example pictures.
Yeah.
And they have like arrows and stuff pointing like, here's the issue here and here's the issue. Now, let me cut in here real quick, okay?
Okay.
I originally, before I met Sam, had a grader's guide. And I'm not good at grading at all. And I was using it to the best of my abilities. I often misgraded things, my own stuff, when I was sending it in. And I would get big surprises on the way back. I think that was an attention to detail thing on my part. Like, I don't think I was seeing a lot of the issues. Yeah. And you'll see that when we shop together, I'll be like, oh, this looks pretty good. And Sam will like destroy that comic. She'd be like, look at this issue and this issue. Then look all this over here. We were fixing up our PC the other day. Sorry for the sidebar here, but we were fixing up my PC the other day. And I was like, okay, let me separate like my extra issues and I'll just keep the best one. And I gave Sam a bunch of, was it Ghost Riders, right?
Yeah.
I gave her a bunch of Ghost Riders that I looked at and I was like, oh, this one is definitely better. I put it back in there and I gave her this one. She pulls it out of the bag and she's like, man, this looks good. Let me see that other one. And she pulls the other one out. She's like, you need to switch these because this one is definitely better. Look at all this right here and this blah, blah, blah.
It became one of those things like 10 times later than that. I was like, you're going to hate me, but let me see this book because I have a hard time believing it's better than this.
So my question for you is, how did you get to where you are now with your skill in grading compared to how I felt I was using that book?
It takes a lot of practice and a lot of grading, actual like grading with CGC and CBCS. So the first thing would be is like using this, you start memorizing defects on each grade. Like you'll start memorizing like what grade can you have a color breaking, subscription crease all the way down the middle, and what grade can you not have that at. So I've graded, every book that sold out of this house, thousands of books with this. And I've graded hundreds of comics that went to CGC and came back. And I will pleasantly say that the times I've been wrong, the book graded higher. And I still question some of a couple things that like our X-Men annual 14, I still question that 9.6. It definitely doesn't look like it to me. But anyways, I would say a lot of doing it, like physically executing it.
All right, so Michael Katz has a really good statement here, and this is the whole point of this show. Dirty grading is very subjective to the individual, and that is doing it to the individual that is doing it. Everybody is different, and for sure. And that is what we're gonna give you some tools here, right? That's the whole plan.
I 100% agree with that. Like grading is very, very subjective, but I get a lot of questions about grading, and I'll get, pictures in the DMs, and people will be at cons like, hey, what do you think this is? I'm like, oh my God, I need like 100 pictures. But there's nothing more empowering than it being able to go into the wild and say, okay, this is low grade, this is medium grade, this is high grade. I think like having the expectation to like memorize everything that's in here or every single defect for the grade, I feel like that is like can be very overwhelming. But I think like it's very empowering and helpful on the hunt if you know those grade ranges, because then you can go in and say, okay, I don't want to pay high grade price because it has a stain on it, and I think the stain, depending on the size, is going to put it in the mid grade to low grade range. And like I've always, like if I've ever felt that way with like at a con or at a shop, I've always been able to work on the price. And it's usually one of those things where they're like, oh my gosh, like I've prepped 100,000 books, to get here, and I didn't see that big stain. Of course I can work on the price. So it's like having that in mind is like such a great tool. So I'm going to go over that briefly.
All right, so reference Alan's comment here. How do you distinguish between the different grades? Because it is very confusing.
Let me run through the dirty, like the high, mid, low, and then go back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, so let's start with the low grade. So the way I quickly talk about the low grade, mid grade, and high grade is like this. Like if you memorize anything, low grade looks beat. It looks loved and basically beat to hell. Mid grade looks appealing, but you can visually see defects on it, color breaks, right? And then high grade is.
I'm gonna cut in there. I'm gonna cut in anytime.
Wait, can I just like
2 seconds? 2 seconds, baby. Because I don't understand something. When you say color breaks, can you define that more?
I'm going to do it.
Because when I see a color breaking spine tick, when I hear that, like, oh, there's this that's not low grade, right?
I'm gonna go through it.
Okay.
High grade, like for a high grade, you have to hold it up really close to see anything wrong with it, if there's anything. So that's like a quickie run of it. So I'm gonna start with the low grade and use examples of my own issues that I have. So low grade is beat, right? So got my Fantastic Four 48. This is a 1.0. I'll tell you why it's a 1.0. Looking up close, you can see a lot of wear. This book looks like it was balled up at one point, right? From distance, even here, I know you guys can see those color breaks. It has a color break all the way down, all these color breaks around here, and it's a 1.0 for a really good reason as well. The cover is completely detached. So the cover is completely detached. So in low grade comics, you'll find that this book just like is all wrinkly, has color breaks all over the cover. It might have huge stains, tears, covers could be detached, staples could be detached on it as well. Here's an example of a low grade issue that the staples are attached, but it is very beat. And this is Tales of Suspense 52, the first appearance of Black Widow. So with this one, you see a ridiculous amount of marble chipping all around the edges of the book. I mean, it looks low grade, you know, it's still collectible because it still is what it is, but it's low grade. You see that huge chunk is missing. There's like cuts around the cover of her page. You can't see that at all, but more marble chipping, all that chipping and wear all around the bottom. I actually had this displayed on the wall, so it has a command strip on the back. But the back spine, like it's rolled, the staples are all the way out the back. The page is rolled so bad. And then there's just basically an excessive amount of small color breaking creases all over the cover on that one. So another thing that you'll find in greater issues too are like huge, massive, deep subscription creases, or the cover. The book might still actually be bent, like from when it was shipped and mailed back in the day. Thanks. Yeah, they're still good books for sure. All right. So next I'm going to show a book that's like right on the cusp of like low to mid grade. This is a 4-5 issue. It's not super low grade, but it's either right at the top of your low grade tier or it's right at the bottom of your mid grade tier. And so here's a 4-5 of FF45. It has marble chipping, and basically what marble chipping is, it's just like chips, like all around the edges. It looks like old beat paper all around the edges, kind of like if you imagine like a pirate map, like that you would see, like, you know, the one that's like rolled up in the movies or a TV show. All the edges are like all worn and chipped out.
Like after you burn it, like after it gets burnt in the oven.
Much. So there's creases all over this, marble chipping everywhere, all along the edges. The staples have rust on them. The back page is pretty little browned, not too severe, and it has a lot of color breaking on the cover. It's a miracle this book is an off-white to white.
Yeah,
to be 100% on it.
Can you go over this one? To me, so this is the Silver Surfer I showed you earlier. It's the 5.0.
Well, can I finish running through this, please?
Sure.
I don't. Well, what were you wanting me to do with that one?
Just tell me why it was a 5 and not higher, because it looks really, really good.
That looks like the best 5.0 I've ever seen. I'm actually getting it regraded because I have no idea why it's a 5.0.
All right, well, the answer is that then.
Because I have the Silver Surfer 1 that looks way better than every 6.0 I've ever seen and have in this house, and it's getting redone with a press. I think I didn't buy that. I bought that already graded. I bought that one already graded, so it needs pressed and cleaned. So we'll see what happens. Hey, does that help? Because I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks,
so
Howie.
I did the low grade. Oh, I didn't mean to move these. Next, I'm going to do like the right in the mid grade, and this fits in where someone was asking to distinguish the difference. No, thank you. The difference between, because I feel like that's a really bad 6.0.
Oh.
Someone was asking to define the difference between a fine and a fine minus, and I actually grabbed a fine and a fine minus. And the grading guide too, it talks about like how those grades are like the ones that are basically overlooked the most. It is a weird grade. All right, so I have a 6.0 and a 6.5, both mid-grade. So with this Eternals, it looks great. And this is one of those things where like the defect scale. So if you look in the grading guide, it's like there's a defect scale, right? And if the book is like in excellent condition, but it has a big stain on it, your book is basically getting dinged for the size of the stain. Because you could have a 9.8 with not a 9.8. The book could be a 9.8. So you cracked a 9.8 out of the slab and then you spilled some coffee on it immediately and then got it graded. You know what I mean? That kind of thing, if that makes sense. But anyways, this is a 6.0. It's in gorgeous condition. However, it has a stain on the back. This book is very lightly worn, but it does have a hefty stain. Well, it's not like hefty, like huge, but it's pretty dark and it's definitely there. So this one is a 6.0. Because of the stain. So stains are one of those things where if it's a small stain, it'll probably toss you in that mid-grade range. But if it's a ginormous stain, and I mean, I've seen books look like someone spilled coffee and it got all over the back. I've definitely seen that. I'm sorry. Can you do something?
Nope, you're fine.
It's like super distracting and I can't really focus. Sorry. Do you do something?
I did it.
Oh, okay. Anyways, it could be a small stain and it throws you in that mid-grade range, but if it's like a humongous stain, like huge, it could land you in that low-grade range, but it definitely won't put you in the high grade. So here's a FF48. This one's mid-grade. This one has a lot, like it has some marble chipping here, but it has an excessive amount of tanning. And you can see like the tanning like all around the edges here. So the biggest thing to take away from mid-grade as well is the difference between your high grade and your mid-grade. So you're like your biggest difference between your high grade issues and your mid-grade issues is that inside of the cover, now I'm not talking about the margins here or the spine, but inside of the cover, you'll see color break and creases. And in high grade, I would say you shouldn't have. Like if you're out in the wild and you're looking for high grade, if you see a color break on the cover, like in the core cover, I would say it's fair to say that that would be below an 8.0. I always hate putting like definitives, if that makes sense. All right, let me get the high grade ones out. So again, like with your low grades, you're gonna see large stains, tears, chunks out of the cover, pages, you had pages missing. You could have covers detached, mega rusted staples, the cover being completely detached, a staple missing. Just like everything like major or severe that you would think to be wrong with a comic book, you'll see in the lower grade. Defects are severe there. And then in mid-grade, the defects are mild. So it'll be like a small taint or a smaller amount of color breaks on the cover. Very, very minor, like discoloring on the staples and stuff like that. And that's all too like in the grading guide. If you have like spare time on your hands, it's like actually kind of cool to have and just like even look through. All right. Oh, where did I put? Oh, here it is. So for the high grade examples, I took a 9.8, and personally, my bottom for, or my floor, I should say, for a high grade, and that would be an 8.0 for me. And as a collector, you can definitely define those on your own, because some people I know consider high grade like a 7.0 or better. I consider, for me, a high grade to be 8.0 or better. And that's because like at an 8.0 or better, you don't see color break on the core of the comic. And it's just easy for me to like draw the line right there. Like, okay, like color breaking is not allowed on the core of the cover. Throwing that in the mid grade. Hey everyone that's hopping in. So my floor of a high grade is an 8.0. The reason that this got an 8.0 is it's a gorgeous copy, has very few spine ticks, very few, but it has a small color break increase. You can't see it, but it is there. It has a color break increase. It's small from the tip of the corner to corner. There's no color breaks in the core of the comic. There's a few, very few color breaking spine ticks here. But the big one is in the corner, there's a color break from the corner to corner. Nothing in the core. The cover is great. It has really good eye appeal. Like if I hold the book like this, I don't see anything wrong with it until I'm like, oh, damn. You know, I see why that got an 8.0. Nothing wrong with the core of the cover. And then the back is fine. The back is clean. Ooh, there's some good questions coming up. Let me finish 9.8. Now, in 9.8, you look at it and you see this book is perfect to you. Like you pick up this book at a con and you're like, oh, this book is perfect. I don't see anything wrong with it. Then that's probably a good chance that it's a high grade comic. So I picked X-Men 20 to show as an example. It is a square bound book, which is easy to show the sharp corners. So the corners are sharp. There's no color breaks on here. No color breaks here. All the corners, and you can see, are sharp, has great eye appeal, and there's no color breaking on it. So I would say for me, high grade would be considered those books where there are little to no defects on the margin. Little to no defects on the margin. Mid-grade, defects on the cover, on the core of the cover. Low grade, hot mess express, but they're still what they are and they're still amazing. All right. I had to get through that. All right, what do you have for me? Anything?
We got it.
All right. Sounds like beef. Hey, mister. All right. So I answered
We're caught up all the way to here.
Okay. So I didn't say very fine. Okay, so very fine minus in comparison to a fine issue. So in a very fine minus, that's where you start to see the color break grow from the margin to slightly being on the cover, the core of the cover, just a little bit. Let's see.
How far in it would you consider the core of the cover?
They have a, let me see. They have a measurement. It's like cool. I have a measuring tape over there actually. All right, let me see. So color creases, I'll read this right from the book. So an 8.0 says cover creases. There can be a bend of a 1/4 inch. So you can have a bend with no color break allowed. And that's at their very fine 8.0. Now, in that same place, cover creases. And we're talking about on the cover, not the margin. The margin is a border. The cover is the inside. Yeah. So everything within the margin. So cover crease in that same spot here at a 7.5, that very fine minus, it says a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch bend with very light color break allowed. So at a very fine minus, there is color break allowed. We are getting graded. Andy's and Chill's show. So Tony did a packing video. We can add that to the description, right?
Mm-hmm. On the replay, we'll just put it right here.
Yeah. So Andy's Tony is an incredible comic packer. He did a video showing how he packs comics. Guys, we have gotten some pretty crazy photos that have like, some of them like give me like, I'm like, Tony, come look at this. And then you read and it's like, oh, the book survived. Okay, thank God. Because we've had people send us pictures like, oh my gosh, you would not believe how my package arrived. And it'll be curb stomped, footprints, soaked in grease. I mean, we've seen it all. And they'll send us a message that says, oh my gosh, thank you. Your packaging was so good. My book survived. So definitely check out that video because Tony does a great job. But basically, you want to pack your book as if it's going to be curb stopped, dipped in oil, dropped in a ginormous rain puddle, travel through the ocean, and then arrive to its destination.
The only thing I would caution you is with 10 books, most likely you're not going to be able to fit that into a single Gemini box. You're going to want to
and that's where you'll want to watch
the cover to cover like this. And then you just do that up to like probably 7 or 8 comics into a single Gemini box. Everything else, you probably just watch the video and I go through all the details.
All right, let's see. TJ said, just got back into collecting after 30 years. Welcome back, welcome back. After being out, wanted to say thanks for all the great content on your channel, even if y'all have a jacked up ceiling. That's so funny.
Yeah, this here is actually a Ghost Rider street sign.
Yeah.
How do I do that? I can't.
That's actually a sign on the wall and our ceiling fan.
There we go. I can't do it. It's backwards.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's so funny. Welcome back to collecting.
We do not press ourselves. We send it to our one of our LCSs that's a little bit away from us because they do really good. I know a lot of other people ship their stuff to pressers or get it done through the grading companies.
I know our place that we travel to get our books pressed, they are moving into another shop, so they won't be pressing till next year. So this will be our first round of having CGC press our books when we send them in, which I think adds like 120 days or something like that to the grading process. Like,
gross.
Yeah.
Turtle show. Are you talking about a sale, like a full-on turtle sale? Because I have been collecting turtle stuff lately to sell.
Yeah, because
he left already. Well, hopefully he hit it on the replay.
So Tony loves TMNT, and every time I see it, I grab it. I'm like, okay, this might be better than the last one I bought. So Tony has like I think he had like some issues. You must have like 4 or 5 copies of. Probably. Yeah. So we definitely need to let some go so we can get some more. All right. Well, we ran through.
We have one more question at the top.
Oh, I missed it. Any more questions? Definitely throw them in the chat.
Jocelyn asked at the very beginning, when did you start collecting comics and which comics did you collect first?
So I started collecting when I met Tony about 3 years ago, and I love collecting. Oh my gosh. I love collecting 90s gimmicks. I love collecting Golden Age, Silver Age keys. I love collecting Silver Age in high grade condition. So I want every superhero and supervillain in Silver Age. I don't care if it's a key or not, in high grade. A high grade cover of that character that I love. I don't care if it's a key or not. So I have a lot of randomness going on. Like my favorite Doctor Doom cover, I'll have to show that one. It's a Strange Tales issue. I don't have it right in front of me. But like my favorite Doctor Doom cover, he's actually not in the story. He's just on the cover. And it's funny, they wrote in, Doctor Doom is not actually in the story. We just wanted to draw his face. And that's him on the cover just because they just wanted to draw his face. So that's me. What about you, Tony?
Let's see. The first ones I collected were Amazing Spider-Man, the first series of Amazing Spider-Man. That was my first thing I ever collected. I am currently collecting as a run all the TMNT and Usagi Yojimbo books, and I'm trying to get the Ghost Rider stuff done before he's in the MCU and I can't afford him.
Yeah. And Tony started reading when he was a kid, and he started collecting basically when he had money to spend.
Yeah, pretty much. All right. Let's see. How often do we do Q&A?
We're going to be doing it every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, starting with, basically, we're going to start with running over more in depth the topics that Tom and I do on the Comic Book 101 on his channel. And we're doing this as like a fun, like study hall, Comic Book 101, hangout, shoot the poo.
When do you and Tom do your thing?
Tuesday at 8.
On Comic Tom's channel?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite writer?
Chris Claremont.
Mine is probably Jason Aaron. I don't think he's ever done anything wrong. All his stuff is awesome.
And Donny Cates is super dope for modern. Let's see.
It was not asked already.
It wasn't. We have, I love the idea of having original art, especially since it's the only one. I think the rarity of it being the only one is very feeling exciting. I don't know. I like that about art.
Yeah. For me, a long time ago, I met Stan Sakai. He's the writer and creator of Usagi Yojimbo. And I met him at Baltimore Comic Con, and at the time he was old, so he's like super old now. And I was like, man, I should really get something unique from him. So I bought an original art piece from him. And that is literally, I think, the only one that I own. That's an original art piece.
Well, I just got you one. That Swamp Thing was pretty dope.
Oh, yeah.
Or
yeah.
Man Thing.
Man Thing.
Man Thing. There we go.
Have y'all looked into NFT comics on the VV app? I am well versed in the VV app.
Yeah. So, backstory, I used to do day trading. It's a dangerous game. It went from just doing the day trading, then it turned into a thing where it's like, and it's like I was just way too into it. It felt like it was like taking over my life. So I used to do the stock market stuff, and then I quit cold turkey. I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's going to take over my life, and this is going to be my life, and I don't want this to be my life. And so when I saw the NFT comic thing, I was like, Tony, I think I can do this, because I was addicted to doing the stock stuff once. I was like, you should think about doing this. And now he's doing it. He's doing really good.
It's a lot of fun. I like it.
Yeah, I try to stay out of it because I don't want to fall down that whole thing.
All right, J.O. Bauman. I've noticed that I find low-grade copies of books I can't afford otherwise. If I want a high-grade copy of a book I already have, should I buy already graded or raw to have graded myself?
So, honestly, I would say it depends where you get it. Because, like, I was showing my Fantastic Four one. Like, literally, it's a 1.0. Fantastic Four 48, it's a 1.0. I got this from a really good seller. It's also a virtual shop on Instagram. He gave me a really good deal on it. We traded books that he wanted in his shop that were modern that we had in exchange for that. And I feel like I got a really good deal. But at the same time, like that Black Widow I was just showing you, we found that raw in the wild, and we got a crazy good deal on it. And got it graded ourselves. So I would say, like, if it's particular books, kind of like know what you're willing to spend on the condition of it. And I think that, because sometimes you can find a really good deal on a copy that's already graded as well.
Yeah, my 2 cents on that would be it depends on your level of comfort on your grading abilities. Mm-hmm. When you see a raw comic, feel like you're able to accurately grade that book? If you are, then you can get really good deals raw, because there's an inherent risk to buying a non-graded book, right? There could be some resto, could be something you miss or they miss.
Yeah, counting the pages is super important too.
So usually if it's graded, there's already a market. The market price is set for that graded book, and you have to kind of buy it for that price. But in a raw book, there's a bigger variance that you can find better deals on.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Let's see. I have the entire Moon Knight run, volume 1 and 2, up to about 1990, and The Werewolf by Night. I need to get pressed and graded. Also have a lot of early Ghost Rider. Get them all graded, just the keys. That's awesome.
That is
super cool.
Definitely one of our issues as well, is that we have so many comics that we want to get graded that you have to pick and choose wisely what to invest in and put your money into.
Grade. Yeah.
That's funny.
The best videos of all time. Elon.
TJ, plan to sell Moon Knight and put all that money into Silver Age Thor. I don't think you could go wrong there. That sounds like, on the surface, a really good plan to me.
Let's see.
Not financial advice.
But one thing I did too was we had a huge, massive run of X-Men, right? And we didn't have any of like the really good keys. So one day, like the beginning of this year, I finally pulled the plug on it and was like, I let go of almost that entire Bronze Age run of X-Men that we had to buy the keys, and I'm happy that we did. So it's kind of like letting go. I know he's saying like letting go of one series to like get another, but
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Andy
Namor to the moon
is talking about Namor. Here's how I feel about Namor. I feel like he is undervalued, that his fan base is strong for him, right? But I just don't think that the fan base is huge for him. So I think it's kind of like a Usagi Yojimbo situation where, like, I think the main keys, I think there's enough want there that they're really, the supply and demand is definitely there for it to go up really well. But I don't know about the other ones, like the minor keys and stuff like that.
Well, one thing I've noticed about Submariner is that's like a good thing too, in my opinion. Now, this is just all observation from like going to shops or like collections that we've gotten or cons and stuff. But because Submariners got like that close net following where it's not like Spider-Man's following. Spider-Man obviously has a huge fan base. Submariners is more small. So I find that you can really find old OGs like Silver Age, early Bronze Age Submariner books for cheap and really good condition. Like, I know you've noticed that. Like, I always see Submariner issues and did we block someone?
For 5 minutes. He's in timeout.
Oh.
Keep it on topic, Elon.
I didn't see what he said.
Talking random stuff.
Oh. Anyways, Submariner is like one of those things of observation where like I see his books out and they're in great condition, and I think because like it's not like Spidey where you find Spidey books and they're all to hell because they've been read 100,000 times.
That's true. Yeah. Do you collect Silver Surfer? I do not.
I love Silver Surfer. I really do. Where was that one?
We missed it.
So I have the Silver Surfer run, like the OG in the Silver Age. I love it. I love him.
Let's see. Late Night says he thinks that they should give Namor the Captain America treatment with a period movie.
I think Namor would make a really good show or movie. I do. I don't know much about the guy, but like just going through the books, like we have thousands of comics here, like in the shop, and I grade them all. I go through every single one and every single page, and I will say, you know, those supervillain team ups or those Submariner books, or like when he makes his appearances, those covers are extra. Like he is so extra, and I don't know. It just feels like I wouldn't say, I don't know if wholesome's the right word, but it's like a well-rounded story. It's not like Hulk where he's like, Hulk smash, I am hungry, I will smash, you know what I mean? He's just like da 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 da. It's like Stubby actually has like a story flowing, and like his covers are really good. The art's really good on the inside. So I assume that he would do well.
Yeah. I would love to see a Namor show, just so that we could get introduced to that world really in depth before there was a movie and before he was into other things.
Who was I talking to? I was talking to someone. Oh, it was in our sale this morning. Someone was saying that they wish they had come out with an Eternal show before the movie so that they could introduce the characters better. I think that probably would have been good.
Before I said what I said just now, I thought of the Eternals and I thought of that, and I was okay with how they did in the movies. I could see why other people would say they would like. I mean, I would like a show with everybody. Give me more content, and I will be happy. So, no, but I was fine with the movie the way they did it. Yeah, I don't think they really needed that much intro because of the storyline they chose with the Eternals. There was no intro to have, so I don't want to spoil too much. So,
right.
All right, this one's a question for you. How much does a very minor roughed up corner, very minor, on a book, like not a crease or a split, but just normal wear, so like maybe the rounded corner of a comic sitting in a bin effect on the final grade?
Well, okay, it's hard to say, right? I don't know what the back's like.
Let's say that was the only issue with it.
Okay. Well, let me tell you a little backstory with this. I'll show you this. This is our Hulk 181. So this is basically what you described. Great book. Has a bent corner. So there's a color breaking crease from here to here on the corner. And it has a couple color breaking spine ticks. That's it. Corner to corner crease gave it the 8.0. All right, so that's an example of what you described. However, let me just tell you how important it is to take something out of the bag. So we were at our LCS. Tony always hands me books and says, check this out. So I have this weird thing, like every time I pick up a book that's absolutely gorgeous and it's a key, I'm like, all right, something is terribly wrong with this book because it looks too good in the bag. And it was Venom's first cover appearance, the one where he's like choking Spidey on the ground, where he's like all big, extra, super dope. So Tony hands me this book. It looks like it probably could have been I don't know, it could have been a near mint, like a 9.4. Like it looked gorgeous. And I was like, well, here we go. Like there's got to be something wrong with this book. I take it out of the bag. Immediately the smell was like, I would have rather smelled like dog poop. Like it smelled horrible. And I think
was that the one you opened here and I was standing there?
It was our LCS. Yeah. Yeah. I gagged and I opened that book and it was like, there was a piece of old food and it had mold in the book. And I was like, so always.
Did you put it back or did you tell him?
Yeah, I gave it to him. Yeah, I told him. I was our LCS. I love that guy. Anyways, it's so important to take the book out of the bag because I've seen books that are gorgeous on the front and the board is like glued to the back. It's like this old boy was eating his breakfast, spilled syrup on the counter, was done reading his book, put it back in the bag and board, let it sit in syrup for 2 decades, and then I pull it out. The board is adhered to the back of the comic. I don't know if that's the story behind the book. I always give defects a story if they're severe. Like if it's this defect, I always try to justify it. Like, well, man, that person really enjoyed this coffee. If the whole top half of this comic is covered in coffee, you know. So always take it out of the bag.
Do you remember grading this one for the first time?
Oh my gosh, this book is so fun. So this book, they had too much fun with this comic. So they created a comic with like every defect they could think. These are all fake defects. This book is actually in really good condition. So this is a fake tear. It's a fake tear. This is not a coffee stain. It's painted on there. This is like
a 9.2, 9.4, 9.6 graded copy.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a beautiful copy. This is so fun. So you see how that looks like this whole chunk is torn? It's magic.
And there's a coffee stain on it and all that kind of stuff. It's so awesome. But it does make it hard to grade, right? Initially? Did it make all this like fake defects make it hard to grade?
Well, there was one that we had in the shop a while ago that we had sold, and that one actually was beat.
Yeah.
So it had like fake spine ticks and real spine ticks. All right, let's see. What did we miss?
All right. So
Omega Red.
Here.
Definitely ask your shop, your LCS. So like at our LCS, we've been going there for a while. He knows me super well. We've sat down together and graded books together. Like he totally tested my grading skills one time. Well, actually like 2 times. He'll look over books or have books that he has already prepared to grade, and he'll like hand them to me and like ask me what I think. But build that relationship with your shop. If they feel comfortable, that like they feel confident that you're gonna, make sure that the tape isn't there when you pull it out of the bag, that you're gonna touch it, like, pull it out of the bag in a way that's not gonna bang it up. But I would definitely ask your shop first. Also at cons, always ask if this could be taken out of the bag. Sometimes they'll say, oh yeah, go ahead, take whatever you want out of the bag. Sometimes they'll say, yeah, if you want anything out of the bag, just hand it to me and I'll do it for you.
Especially at cons, but also at most LCSs, I would just, especially on more expensive books, just have them take it out, because if they get that stupid tape pull happen, that's on them and it's not on you. Late night, I'm going to talk about that with Rage. Rage and I are probably going to go live. We talk about kind of specky stuff and MCU stuff when we go live. And you're with Nerdy Girl this week, right?
Yeah.
So this upcoming weekend, Rage and I will probably go live if he's available. And I have a lot to say about FF and the MCU.
So, Jo, can you pin his comment real quick? Because online there's actually a free color page color quality guide, which is like super helpful.
Is it the owl guide or something
white?
Else?
White is pretty easy because that's like white printer paper, essentially. But that's a great question. Can you recommend a good pin? You can keep going. I just wanted to pin that so like everyone can see what's right for it. Yeah, no problem.
I'm interested to see what you got, because I know what the old school thing is. Let's see.
So if you Google comic page color chart, you'll get all kinds of stuff.
Just turn your brightness.
Yeah. Sure. Oh, I guess we could have put Google on the second screen, but that's okay. OMG, amateur hour. Type in, you can't see this, but here on Google, just type in comic page color chart. And then you'll get like a bunch of options. Obviously, you don't want like the color rainbow one, because we're talking about the quality of like white and stuff like that. So there's white, off-white, tan, brown, and brittle. They're pretty self-explanatory, I guess, because like off-white isn't white. It's like literally like off-white. But you can see vaguely on my screen. If you Google this, it's going to look a lot better. But this is a really good one to use. I would say like a couple times looking at this, you can probably be out in the wild being able to tell. Because like tan is literally tan. When I see a book with tan pages, I'm like, all right, looks tan to me. Let's go.
Yeah. So that is the owl card. It is one of like the oldest things they used to use in grading. Still works today. So definitely worth it.
And like open those books, like you would be surprised. Like this right here is off-white. This Fantastic 448 at a 1.0. I know the cover's attached and it's B on the front, but the pages inside this are off-white. So you would be surprised what you will see as white and off-white pages.
If you could rank Venom, Shang-Chi, Eternals movies, how would you rank them 1 to 3? I think Shang-Chi was the best movie out of these 3. I don't think you could put Venom in with them because it was a different style. It's just more of a comedy movie, not so serious. I would rather watch Shang-Chi, Eternals, and then Venom. Venom was good, but like if there was 10 movies that you mentioned here, I think Venom might be like 4 or 5 in that list. So it's not low on me at all. It's just, I think Shang-Chi was really good. I really liked Eternals.
And I haven't seen any of them yet. Hashtag Mom Life.
All right. DC stole the perfect Neymar with Momoa. Thoughts?
Oh, when they did Aquaman? I don't think so.
I would agree with my wife.
I think that Jason Momoa was a fantastic Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
He is Aquaman. He's built like Aquaman. I feel like Neymar is very cut and he's very lean. They need
Michael Phelps.
Yeah, they need someone that's very, very cut, like a muscle builder, like a professional muscle builder to play. Like,
you're welcome, Jo, man.
Jo, that's so sweet. Well, we'll be here every Saturday at 8.
Yeah, and we'll be going over the topics that Sam and Tom go over.
Yeah. And another channel to go to in the meantime, between like us being back, Reggie Collects. In the beginning, I learned a lot from him. He does really good playlists that are very like quick and to the point. Like his videos are like 5 to 10 minutes long, and he'll teach on something, and you'll learn the meat, that like literally the meat on bones that you need to know about those topics.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Any last questions before we head out? If not, please hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to us. Hit the like button if you like this kind of content, because we're going to do it any week or every week anyways. So let us know if you guys like this kind of stuff. I really appreciate it. All right. I headed overseas soon. Will y'all ship APO if necessary? APO shouldn't be a problem because it's like shipping in the United States.
Yeah. I was going to say I ship to you APO all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you were out. Yeah. Thank you for your service. I'm assuming you're military too, so that's really cool.
Yeah. Which service you in, man? Like which department are you under?
But we can get the they even have the military flat rates here. We can get those as well.
Oh, do they?
It gives them a cheaper rate.
Oh, yeah, I know that. That's why I never ship stuff to myself.
Yeah, that's why it has like the flag on it and all that cool stuff.
Let's see. I'm watching on a lag because I missed some stuff, but when it comes to the wall books at LCS, do you take them? Do you just take them out of the bag? I always feel weird about it and don't.
I would say if you want to see something out of the bag, take it out of the bag. I've had stuff come out of the bag and it has panels cut out, and it was a wall book. So I would say, like, if you are going to put your like hard-earned money to buy something, I've never seen a shop be offended by questions. You can ask Tony. I ask a lot of questions. I ask for things out of the bag. Smoke-free home, whatever. Like, I ask a lot of questions about the books, and no one's ever been like offended about answering that at all.
Oh, look at that. We're already following Late Night Comics.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, you can just DM us if anything. Where are you going? Like, are you say where you're going?
Oh, I'd assume probably not.
Well, if he's just PCSing overseas, it's not usually that big of a deal.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. What color would foxing be considered?
Ooh.
Foxing is a
I'm trying to think of a book I have that has foxing on it. Heavy foxing. So foxing, it's like think about if you had like tanned, I wouldn't say like maybe like watercolor paint. Tan watercolor paint, and you just like go like that to paper, right? And it puts like all like I know this is like stupid example, but it's what I got. Like my skin color, right? Take my skin color of like watercolor paint and like flick it from a paintbrush. You get all these like little like speckly dots like all over the comic. It's usually around the edges. You get all these speckling dots like all around the edges of the comic, and it's like legit tan freckles on the book. If it looks like freckles and it looks like this color tan, that would be foxing. And we definitely had some books that were like had some seriously heavy foxing on it.
Luke Evans. I don't know who Luke Evans is.
Was that a good description of foxing?
I don't know if foxing is like that. I know it's like what do you call it?
It's like comic freckles.
Yeah.
Sounds good. See you in the DMs.
Luke Evans. Oh, yeah, the actual Neymar guy, right? I mean, he kind of looks like it, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, he looks like he could be Neymar. Is that who they casted for Neymar?
Yeah. I don't know if they actually cast him, but I know he's like, I mean, he's pretty beastly there.
Mm-hmm. I hope that was helpful. Describe one. I was trying to think if we have a book down here that has foxing on it.
I'm not sure.
I know there's pictures in here, but it's like they're not like super clear. No, that's just super dirty.
Oh, that was dirt?
Yeah.
That's gross.
Look like that kid took that comic to baseball practice. I'm just looking in the grading guide if there's like a really good example of foxing that I can show on the screen, but I feel like that would probably explain it really well.
Let me ask. I know we were at the end there, and there's 14 people in here. The print defects. Can you quickly touch on print, like the defects from the production?
So there are over 100 printer defects. The guy from CGC said this. I had watched a show that he was on, and he said that there's over 100 printer defects in the system. And so basically what happens is if like 1,000 book run is printed, for example, and every single book on this 1,000 print run is like, I don't know, let's say it's Elf on the Shelf issue 1, and I'm looking at an Elf on the Shelf. So it's Elf on the Shelf issue 1. It's a white comic. Elf on the Shelf is sitting right in the middle, right? And every single one of these issues, every single one, there's 1,000 printed. All of them have a black speck on the cover, and every single one has this weird folded over crease. So it's like all the same, or a huge, massive percentage of them has this right out of the printer, fresh, just done. That would be a printer defect issue.
And it's still a 9.8?
Well, I say that lightly because I know there are printer defects that they won't get docked, or they will. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be dependent on the grader, the person grading, because like they could oversee that. Like if they're like, oh, Elf on the Shelf issue 1, it has a speck on it. Well, that's obviously not a 9.8. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because that's like a regular random ink blot. You know what I mean? Because if they miss it. But generally, I just hate saying definitive. If it's generally in the system, speaking, it
shouldn't be counted against them.
That black speck on Elf on the Shelf 1 shouldn't be docked heavily, right?
Cool. All right, cool.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. All right, ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. Again, yeah. Thanks everybody for chiming in and chatting with us and listening to what we got to say.
Skeleton Key Comics. Sammy, forgot to introduce ourselves at the beginning.
Oh yeah,
Tony.
did we not?
No,
Maybe
we
I
didn't.
Did. I don't know. I might have.
I might
not have. Yeah, but you can catch Sam and Comic Tom on Comic Tom 101 on Tuesdays. You said at what time?
8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we'll be back here at 8 p.m. Saturday. Yeah.
Cool. All right. See you guys.
See ya. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Bye.